The Grenfell Tower fire occurred on the 14th of June 2017, at the 24-story Grenfell Tower, a block of public housing flats in North Kensington, London, England, killing at least 17 people. The fire started shortly before 1 a.m. local time, UTC+1. Hundreds of firefighters and 45 fire engines were involved in efforts to control the fire. Firefighters were trying to control pockets of fire on the higher floors after most of the rest of the building had been gutted. Residents of surrounding buildings were evacuated out of concerns that the tower could collapse, though the building was later determined to still be structurally sound. There could have been up to 600 people in the 121 and 2-bedroom flats of the block at the time of the fire. At least 17 people were killed, and many residents remain missing. 65 were rescued by firefighters. 74 people were confirmed to be in 5 hospitals across London, 17 of whom were in a critical condition. Ongoing fires on the upper floors and fears of structural collapse hindered the search and recovery effort. The cause of the fire is not yet known. The extraordinary speed at which the fire spread is widely believed to have been aided by the building's recently added exterior cladding, which appeared to contain highly flammable material. Since 2013, the residents' organization, Grenfell Action Group, had repeatedly expressed concern about fire safety, and had warned in November 2016 that only a catastrophic fire would finally force the block's management to treat fire precautions and maintenance of fire-related systems properly. Background Grenfell Tower Grenfell Tower is located in North Kensington, West London, in a mainly working-class housing complex surrounded by affluent neighbourhoods. The 24-story brutalist block was designed in 1967, with Kensington and Chelsea Council approving its construction in 1970 as part of Phase 1 of the Lancaster West redevelopment project. Contractors A.E. Symes, of Rydon, London commenced construction in 1972 with the building completed in 1974. It was built under the council housing system. It contained 121 and 2-bedroom flats, 6 apartments per floor on 20 of the 24 stories, with the other 4 being used for non-residential purposes, and was renovated in 2015-16. The tower is managed by Kensington and Chelsea Tenant Management Organisation, KCTMO, the largest tenant management organisation, TMO, in England, on behalf of Kensington and Chelsea Council. The TMO has a board comprising 8 residents, 4 council-appointed members, and 3 independent members. Plans for a regeneration project for the tower were publicised in 2012. Overseen by Studio E Architects, the £10 million refurbishment, undertaken by Rydon Limited, was completed in 2016. As part of the project, in 2015-2016, the concrete structure received new windows and new aluminum composite cladding, Arconic Rainabond 2-coil-coated aluminum sheets that are fusion-bonded to both sides of a polyethylene core, and Rainalux material with thermal insulation. The work was carried out by Healey Facades of Borough, East Sussex, at a cost of £2.6 million. In the hours following the fire, one of the companies involved in the refurbishment, ventilation company Wiki UK, removed all references to the refurbishment from its website. They had been involved with the smoke ventilation and extraction system that was fitted to the building during the refit. Safety concerns There were significant safety concerns prior to the fire, with criticism leveled against the Kensington and Chelsea London Borough Council for fire safety and building maintenance. In a July 2014 Grenfell Tower regeneration newsletter, the KCTMO instructed residents to stay in the flat in case of a fire, stating our long-standing, stay put, policy stays in force until you are told otherwise, and also that the front doors for each unit could survive a fire for up to 30 minutes. The May 2016 newsletter had a similar message, adding that it was on the advice of the fire brigade. The smoke detection systems have been upgraded and extended. The fire brigade has asked us to reinforce the message that, if there is a fire which is not inside your own home, you are generally safest to stay put in your home to begin with. The fire brigade will arrive very quickly if a fire is reported. Grenfell Action Group A residents organization, Grenfell Action Group, GAG, published a blog in which it highlighted major safety problems. In 2013, the group published a 2012 fire risk assessment done by a TMO health and safety officer that revealed significant safety violations. Firefighting equipment at the tower had not been checked for up to 4 years, on-site fire extinguishers had expired, and some had the word condemned written on them because they were so old. GAG documented its attempts to contact KCTMO management. They also alerted the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea (RBKC) cabinet member for housing and property, but said they never received a reply from him or his deputy. In January 2016, GAG warned that people might be trapped in the building if a fire broke out. pointing out that the building had only one entrance and exit, and corridors that were allowed to fill with rubbish, such as old mattresses. GAG frequently cited other fires in tower blocks when it warned of the hazards at Grenfell. In November 2016, GAG published online an article attacking KCTMO as an evil, unprincipled, mini-mafia and accusing the Borough Council of ignoring health and safety laws. GAG suggested that only a catastrophic event will expose the ineptitude and incompetence of KCTMO. The group had also published articles criticizing fire safety and maintenance practices at Grenfell Tower. Fire and casualties. The fire started early in the morning of the 14th of June 2017. The London Fire Brigade were first called to the fire at 0:54 BST, UTC+1. The fire reportedly began on the second floor but spread at a terrifying rate upward and to the other side of the building. A team of 250 firefighters from 40 fire engines attempted to control the blaze and rescue people, the first responders arriving 6 minutes after the alarm. Firefighters entered the building to try to rescue people but reported they were hindered by the extreme heat. According to witnesses, there were people trapped inside, waving from windows for help, some holding children. There were 2 witness accounts of parents dropping their children down to people below, including a baby who was caught after being thrown from the 9th or 10th floor, and a small boy thrown from the 5th or 6th floor. There were also eyewitness reports that some people were jumping out. At least one person used knotted blankets to make a rope and escape from the burning building. Frequent explosions that were reported to be from gas lines in the building were heard. After 3 hours, the original crew of firefighters were replaced by a new crew. By sunrise, the firefighters were still battling the fire and trying to spray areas where people were seen trapped. The watching crowd were pushed back from the building because of falling debris. At 500, the building was still burning and severely damaged. The fire continued to burn on the tower's upper floors into the afternoon of the 14th of June. Firefighters were expecting to continue tackling the blaze for at least a further 24 hours. Although fears were expressed that the building could collapse, structural engineers determined that it was not in danger and that rescue teams could enter it to search for survivors and casualties. Some riot police attended and held their shields horizontal above their heads to protect firefighters from falling large debris such as burning pieces of the cladding. Casualties. By 500 BST, police reported that several people were being treated for smoke inhalation. The London Ambulance Service sent 20 ambulance crews to respond to the incident, and 100 police officers were on site. At 6:30, it was reported that 50 people had been taken to 5 hospitals: Chelsea and Westminster Hospital, King's College Hospital, Royal Free, St Thomas's, and St Mary's Hospital. Around 9:30, London Fire Commissioner Danny Cotton reported that there were fatalities resulting from the fire, but she could not specify how many had been killed because of the size and complexity of the building. Cotton said, "This is an unprecedented incident. In my 29 years of being a firefighter, I have never ever seen anything of this scale." Residents who escaped claimed to have heard other people trapped and screaming for help. At noon, the Metropolitan Police announced there were 6 people confirmed dead, and more than 70 in hospital, with 20 in critical condition. A large number of people were reported missing. At 17:04, the number of dead was increased to 12, and at 11:01 the following day, to 17. Cause. The cause of the fire has not yet been determined. Several media outlets reported that it may have been caused by a faulty kitchen appliance. A 4th-floor resident told the media that it was his neighbor's fridge that caught fire around 1 a.m., and that they immediately began knocking on doors to alert people. He said that within half an hour the building was entirely engulfed in flames. He said he had seen extracts of a fire risk assessment and talk of combustible material stored in the common walkways, suggesting poor overall management. Criticism. Some residents said no fire alarms went off when the fire started. Residents said they were alerted to the fire only by people screaming for help or knocks on the door and not by a fire alarm. Others reported that they survived by ignoring the council's stay-put policy, its directive instructing residents to remain in their flat in case of fire. Don Foster, contributing editor on housing for The Guardian, posited that this was an atrocity that was explicitly political and a symbol of the United Kingdom's deep inequality. Grenfell Action Group warnings. After the fire, the Grenfell Action Group said that its years of complaints to warn the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea, RBKC, who own the building, and the Kensington and Chelsea Tenant Management Organisation, who supposedly manage all social housing in RBKC on the council's behalf, had been ignored. posting a message on its website. Regular readers of this blog will know that we have posted numerous warnings in recent years about the very poor fire safety standards at Grenfell Tower and elsewhere in RBKC. All our warnings fell on deaf ears, and we predicted that a catastrophe like this was inevitable in just a matter of time. The Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea threatened the Grenfell Action Group with legal action in 2013 in a bid to prevent the group criticizing the council, claiming that such criticism amounted to defamation and harassment. Official policies and maintenance Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London, told BBC Radio 4 that he wanted answers about the fire safety condition at Grenfell Tower, and criticized the official stay-put policy. Thankfully, residents didn't take that advice but fled, adding, "These are some of the questions that have to be answered. We have lots of people in London living in tower blocks. We can't have people's lives being put at risk because of bad advice or lack of maintenance." Fire safety review shelved Former Housing Minister Gavin Barwell faced criticism after it was revealed by Joe Watts in The Independent that he had delayed a fire safety review, and that a report into fire safety in tower blocks had been shelved for 4 years. Barwell had been due to meet the all-party Parliamentary Fire Safety and Rescue Group to discuss the review in 2017, but the meeting was postponed after the snap general election was called, and he was appointed Downing Street Chief of Staff shortly afterwards. However, in his report, Watts also noted that a review of fire safety regulations had been necessary, but not undertaken, for years before Barwell took office. John Healey called for an independent, immediate review of fire safety in tower blocks. Cladding Fire safety experts have speculated that the building's new external cladding was a possible cause of the rapid spread of the fire. Experts said the cladding essentially worked like a chimney in spreading the fire. The cladding could be seen burning and melting, causing additional speculation that it was not made of fire-resistant material. One resident said, "The whole one side of the building was on fire. The cladding went up like a matchstick." Records show that a contractor had been paid £2.6 million to install an ACM rain screen overclad during the recent refurbishment at Grenfell Tower. ACM stands for aluminum composite material, the combustibility of which depends on the choice of insulation core material. The particular product was Celotex RS 5000. According to its datasheet, the product will burn if exposed to a fire of sufficient heat and intensity. Sam Webb, the architect who investigated the Lakanal fire and who sits on the all-party Parliamentary Fire Safety and Rescue Group, said this tragedy was entirely predictable. Sadly, Webb also said, "I really don't think the building industry understands how fire behaves in buildings and how dangerous it can be. The government's mania for deregulation means our current safety standards just aren't good enough." Some residents had reported concern that the new cladding on the building was fixed onto it with wooden battens. There is widespread concern amongst residents and fire safety experts about the increasing use of timber, even in high-rise buildings, following a change to building regulations. It was reported that one reason for the new cladding was to improve the view for people living in the surrounding area. Similar cladding containing highly flammable insulation material is believed to have been installed on thousands of other high-rise buildings in countries including Britain, France, the UAE and Australia. This goes against advice published by the Centre for Window and Cladding Technology with their guidance document TN98 on fire performance of facade cladding. An application for demolition work at Grenfell Tower was deposited with the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea's Building Control Department on the 22nd of May 2014. No decision date had been entered as of the 14th of June 2017. By the 4th of September 2014, a building regulations notice for the recladding work was submitted to the authority, and marked with a status of completed, not approved. The use of a building notice building control application is used to remove the need to submit detailed plans and proposals to a building control inspector in advance, where the works performed will be approved by the inspector during the course of their construction. Building Inspector Jeff Wilkinson remarked that this type of application is wholly inappropriate for large complex buildings and should only be used on small, simple domestic buildings. Impact short-term The fire's proximity to Latimer Road tube station caused a partial closure of London Underground's Hammersmith and City and Circle lines. The A40 Westway was closed in both directions. Bus routes were also being diverted. People from surrounding buildings were evacuated due to concern that the tower might collapse. Following the general election of the 8th of June, which resulted in no overall majority, a deal was expected to be announced between the Conservative Party and the Democratic Unionist Party, DUP. The DUP announced that the fire would delay the finalization and announcement of an agreement between the Conservatives and DUP. According to the BBC, the announcement would not go ahead until the following week and thus could postpone postponed discussions on Brexit that had been scheduled to take place. The City of London cancelled the annual Mansion House dinner, due to take place the day after the fire. Philip Hammond, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, had been due to address the event, but had said he would not do so following the fire. Community response People in the immediate area and from across London rallied to assist victims of the fire. Donations of food, water, toys, and clothes were made. St. Clement Church on Treadgold Street and St. James Church, Norlands, in the Deanery of Kensington, provided shelter for people evacuated from their homes, as did nearby mosques and temples. Nearby Queen's Park Rangers FC have offered their Loftus Road venue as a relief center and are accepting donations of food, drink and clothing from the local community, and other nearby football clubs. Brentford FC and Fulham FC have offered their stadiums as relief centers. Celebrity chef Jamie Oliver offered free food and shelter to victims of the fire at his nearby restaurant in Westfield, London. Criticism of the council Emma Dentcode, the newly elected MP for Kensington, the constituency where the tower is located, blamed Kensington and Chelsea London Borough Council, saying that the fire was entirely preventable and that I can't help thinking that poor quality materials and construction standards may have played a part in this hideous and unforgivable event. Dentcode linked the council's intention to redevelop the area to the tragedy and said that displaced residents feared being sent far away from their neighborhoods. Reactions The Queen has said that her thoughts and prayers are with the affected families. Prime Minister Theresa May said she was saddened and called for a cross-government meeting, chaired by Nick Hurd, the new Police and Fire Minister, and a meeting with the Civil Contingencies Secretariat. London Mayor Sadiq Khan issued a statement saying he was devastated. Khan also praised the first responders on the scene. Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn said that questions needed to be answered about the fire. He praised the emergency services for their actions. In the days after the fire, local authorities across the United Kingdom undertook reviews of fire safety in their residential tower blocks. Brighton and Hove City Council announced that 2 of its tower blocks were to be fitted with sprinklers. Swindon Borough Council reassured its tenants that there were robust fire precautions in its tower blocks, which each had a monthly inspection. Investigations The local borough pledged to carry out a full investigation into the fire. Prime Minister Theresa May ordered a full public inquiry, saying that people deserve answers to why the fire was able to spread as quickly as it did. However, Sophie Khan, who acted as solicitor for the families in the Lakanal House fire, told BBC's Newsnight that inquests would be better for the families as they would allow the families to participate and ask questions. She said the coroner was independent but a public inquiry was government-led and she wondered what information the Prime Minister knew that she wanted to hide. Metropolitan Police Commander Stuart Cundy said a police investigation has been opened to establish if there is a case for any criminal charges to be brought. See also Building regulations in the United Kingdom Part B. Fire safety. Fire escape. Skyscraper fire. Notes references external links Rydon Construction case study on the refurbishment. Grenfell Action Group blog. BBC News reports. Video of the fire on Periscope. Live video on Sky News via YouTube. Kensington Planning Application for renovation works. Kensington Building Regulations record for Grenfell Tower. West London Grenfell Tower on fire. Multiple casualties confirmed. Recorded live feed on YouTube.